Hey, what's up everyone? 2020 has come to a close, and it was another big year for Funko. Maybe not as big as 2019, but you know.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus!
Flames, where the state's largest fires are churning through wine country.
The world is a mess. The world is as angry as it gets.
Kind of took the wind out of the sails for me when it came to collecting. With everything going on in the world, it seemed pretty unimportant. But despite all the challenges that everyone was facing, Funko kept producing some really great pops and still allowed us all to escape a little bit through our love of collecting these silly little figures. There's going to be several categories this year, and then a top 10 of the best Funko Pops of the year in my opinion, and also a best series overall. And even though this is my opinion, I'm not just picking my favorites. Just because I like a certain property more than others, I'm not going to make that my number one or the best series just because it's my favorite character or property. I'm taking design into consideration, I'm taking accuracy into consideration, the sculpt, the paint. Is it recognizable as the character right away? Is it unique? Does it stand out amongst a grouping of 12 other pops? Does your eye go to this specific pop? So I'm trying to be as critical as possible and really picking what I feel is the best of the best this year. Of course, it's still going to be laced with my opinion because I'm only human. So just keep that in mind. First up, let's start with Best Chase. The 1989 Joker is one that a lot of people already wanted, and he came out really good. I think he's one of the best of the year. And Funko did a great job with the chase. They didn't just make the same old metallic or glow in the dark. They gave him a whole new head with a really good paint job from a really memorable scene. The Roy Batty chase from Blade Runner is also really excellent. It's a whole new mold on the head and the body from two different points in the movie, beginning and end. And it just came out really good. It's worth having both of them if you're a fan of the movie. It could have easily just been an exclusive somewhere or a whole nother pop in the common set because it is completely different, but they made it a chase and that's really cool. Now I really wanted to make TLC number one because I think this is a fabulous idea for a chase. Definitely worth having both because the Waterfalls video is so iconic. You could not get away from it in the 90s. And it was one of the first times that I saw like CGI in a music video, and it's really bad, it's really dated, but it was really memorable at the time. And the translucent blue is the same mold as the commons, but since it's translucent blue, it's really different, and it just makes a lot of sense. The number one chase of the year, though, has got to be the narrator from Fight Club. I know Fight Club is an old movie, but if you haven't seen it, go watch it. I'll try not to spoil it here, but the chase for Tyler Durden is a completely different sculpt, different mold. He appears to be wearing the Rupert name tag from when he's in one of the support groups, and he comes with his power animal. So not only is this a chase that's significant if you've seen the movie, very clever, could have easily just been another character in the line, or an exclusive, and he comes with an additional little pop. To me, this is one of the best chases that Funko has ever made. For the most improved, it came down to two, and that is Katsuki from My Hero Academia. I don't watch the show, so I really don't know anything about it. I'm going purely on the design, and the original is really good, but I think this new version of him is the one I would want, because it's just a really cool action pose. And side by side, your eye definitely goes to the new version with the smoke and blast and the mask. It's just way cooler than the original. But for the most improved of the year, I'm going to go with April O'Neil. Here's the original. It's not bad. Her hair looks really weird. It looks like she was caught in the rain or something, or she was wearing a hat. Her right arm looks like way too large. Her pants are too baggy. It's strange. And it's an older pop, and a lot of the pops from this era didn't have the heads cleanly glued on, and you can see like a little ridge where the head just isn't seated right. So there's a lot of issues with this one that the new one fixed. The hair sculpt is way better. So is the pose. The colors are more accurate. The sculpting is just better overall on the body. It looks more feminine. Here they are side by side. I know a lot of people are fans of the old style of bodies for Funko Pops, and I am too. I like that they keep some of that, but for some reason I like the female characters to have a slighter body, just a more feminine body. It looks more accurate to me. But really, overall, what makes this look more like April O'Neil to me, the April O'Neil I know, is the hair sculpt on the new one. So yeah, the newer style feminine sculpt on the body with added details and the really improved, more accurate hair sculpt really make this new April O'Neil way better than the original. Two packs stood out to me this year, and the first one was the one from Dungeons & Dragons. And I'm not even going to attempt to say that name, because honestly, it looks like somebody fell asleep on a keyboard. But this purple dude with the white hair, and those lavender eyes, and the armor, looks really cool, and so does his panther. I'm not sure if he rides it, I don't know. But it's a great, eye-catching 2-pack. But without a doubt, the best multi-pack in my opinion is Morgan Stark and Tony Stark. The Morgan Pop is adorable. I like the sculpt on Tony. I like the color. I like that it actually glows, and they didn't just make it that color. And I like how the Iron Man helmet is packaged. It looks like it's actually projecting it inside of the package for the people that are inbox collectors like myself. I like when things should be multi-packs and it's just not pops packed together for the sake of making a multi-pack and trying to sell more. This makes sense. It's executed really well. It's just a great collectible to have. There was a few really impressive 6-inchers this year, starting with Ava Unit 1. This is an incredibly hard design to turn into a Funko Pop. It's a long, slender robot with an oddly shaped head that seems like it would be impossible to turn into a Funko Pop, but Funko pulled it off and it looks pretty good. Pepita from Coco is also really nice. It looks like a piece of art outside of the box, like a hand-painted piece of ceramic art that you could probably find in a shop in Mexico. Well, it seems like that to me. Really great colors. I like that it glows in the dark. Just perfect execution on this one. But definitely the most eye-catching 6-inch pop to me was the Kraken from Funko's original Myths line. Sometimes the Funko originals are the coolest ones because they really don't have restrictions. All the other licensed stuff needs to be approved, and it has to look like the original characters, so they're restricted. But with things like the Kraken, they can pretty much do whatever they want, as long as it still resembles a Kraken somewhat. The sculpt is really awesome on this one. The tentacles all look really nice. I love the little Viking ship. Lots of great details even though it's pretty small, and it's painted with multiple colors. But what really looks nice on this pop is that iridescent paint job on the head. The teal is really pretty, but the pink on top of it and the way it shimmers really draws your eye, and I think it's probably one of the best painted pops in my entire collection. I really think the Kraken was the best 6-inch pop of the year. The 10-inch pops are just big versions of regular pops, so none of them really stand out to me, unless the bigger format allows for more detail. And I think the Mandalorian 10-inch pop is a good example of that. It allows Grogu to have a lot of detail, and if you notice his eyes aren't done in the round Popeye style, they actually look like Grogu's eyes in the show. And the Mandalorian helmet doesn't have Popeyes, of course, because it's a helmet. So this would be a good present, I think, for people that are just into the Mandalorian and not necessarily just for Funko Pop collectors. Probably why the Grogu Pops have more accurate eyes. This is when chrome is totally appropriate. His helmet looks chrome in the show, and in this size it's really impressive, and the armor on the body is chrome as well, with just a lot of details. I think people that don't even like the Mandalorian would probably pause and take a look at this guy if you had it displayed in your house, just because it is so large and the chrome is nice and shiny. It's definitely a centerpiece. The Carl and Ellie movie moment is perfect. Lots of great details, especially on the mailbox. It looks great from every angle. It's adorable, but it's pretty straightforward, and to me, not as impressive as the Inuyasha moment. The base is really impressive with all the skulls. Really great action with the poses, which I think is important for movie moments, that there has to be some kind of action. That really makes the moment stand out to me, and the way that's conveyed through the sculpts of these pops is pretty magnificent. I mean, look at the hair sculpt on these. The clothes, everything. They're painted really well. To me, this edges out the Carl and Ellie movie moment. Guy Fieri is definitely the most smash mouth pop of the year. Actually came out surprisingly good with the burger, the sunglasses, the douchey shirt, the frosted tips. All aboard for Flavor Town.
That is gangster. Here's the
There was some great pop rides this year. I think some of the strongest pop rides that Funko has ever made, actually. Share Bear with the Cloudomobile is tip top. Great sculpt on the Cloudmobile, nice colors. Share Bear, I believe, is a new bear. They haven't made that one before. It's on a stand, so it looks like it's floating. Translucent little windshield on there. Great pop ride. Sweet Tooth and the ice cream truck, another one with a ton of great details. Translucent plastic on there to mix it up with the materials. Great paint job, lots of colors. Wish it didn't just have a generic PlayStation box, that's pretty weak. I'm not sure how popular this property is anymore, but Sweet Tooth with the ice cream truck looks pretty nice. Harry, Hermione, and Ron on Gringotts Dragon is also really impressive. I believe the kids are to a smaller scale though than the other pops, but I think it would have been cooler to make the dragon big enough to have them all be in scale. People have such massive Harry Potter collections that something like this would be a great centerpiece if it was done larger. That said, it's still impressive, but it would have been more impressive in a larger scale and probably a little bit more accurate paint on the dragon. I think they made him too white. They should have put a wash of gray over it, just to make it look more reptilian and less like unpainted plastic. Not sure how to say this. Jurea Untoad is pretty excellent. Unlike the dragon, the pop on this one is to scale with other Funko Pops, and it could easily be like a Pop Deluxe with the frog being like an elaborate stand. But it says rides on the box, and I'm not familiar with Naruto, so I don't know if this guy really does have like, a toad as his pony or whatever, but it looks really good to me. The colors are fabulous, the sculpt is great, I like the little flowing cape. Another great ride. The best ride of the year though is Ice Cube and his 6'4" Impala. I think certain things lend themselves better to pop rides, like cars. The Harry Potter Dragon is impressive, but they can't do it justice like something more grounded like a car.
I can make the ass drop. Had to stop at a red light, looking in my mirror, not a jacker inside.
When you take it out of the box, you notice that it is on 3 wheels with the hydraulics going. There's enough details in here where you don't see any big areas of unpainted plastic like the pop rides tend to have. You got the clear windshield with a painted trim on there. And of course, Ice Cube with the signature eyebrows and flannel. This pop ride is just perfection. Repaints and colorways aren't always the most exciting releases, but every once in a while, Funko does such a good job that it almost seems like a different pop and definitely worth having both. And this spicy version of Oodles is a good example of that. Not only did they repaint it, they made new art for the box, which is a nice touch. I hate when they stick repainted pops into the same box with the same artwork as the original. Here he is side by side. As you can see, they didn't just change the colors on the same design. This one has flames. There's a little bit of different paint on the chopsticks. His eyebrows are a little different. But yeah, it's this extremely eye-catching and very different paint job that makes it one of the best for me. Also from the Spastic Plastic line, this new colorway of TJ I think is very nice. Very eye-catching. They also made new artwork for the box on this one. Here he is alongside the original, and you can see just how different he looks with these colors. I especially like the gradient on the mustache, which kind of matches the bottle. It almost seems like he drank something radioactive in that bottle and it made him change these colors. Kind of tells a little story. The only thing I would change is I would make it glow in the dark or blacklight reflective, because that's kind of what he looks like. Which brings me to what I think is the best color variant, colorway, or repaint of the year, and that is the Marvel Blacklight Pops. These are all existing molds. Some of them pretty boring because we have a lot of pops of these characters, but the blacklight treatment really gave these molds some new life. I'm pretty sure I had gotten to the point where I told myself, I don't need any more Iron Mans, I don't need any more Captain Americas, a dozen is enough. But when I saw these, I instantly had to have them. Sure, they're just repaints, but there's several colors that are blacklight reflective. They still have to be creative, they still have to figure out how to apply them to the pops. What they did with Spider-Man, by adding the purple in the middle on the face there, and the different ways they added shadowing and the black lines that look like comic book ink to these pops, really give it another level of creativity. It's not like they just straight up repainted this. It's not like they just painted Spider-Man's mask all pink and just called it a day. You can tell someone really thought about making these blacklight pops really nice and more than just repaints. I really like the box artwork as well. Here's Carnage. It reminds me of Jack Kirby's art, who is one of my favorites. If I had to choose a comic book artist to blow up in a gigantic size and put on an entire wall of my house, it would be Jack Kirby. Just a really amazing, iconic style. And here's Carnage glowing. Really intense, really eye-catching pops. and are definitely the best repaints of the year, some of the best repaints Funko has ever done. And it seems like they're not going as crazy with these as they did with the chromes, but I wouldn't mind it as much because these are way more creative and way more eye-catching to me than just the chrome pops. Before I get into the top 10, I'm going to quickly show you some of the pops I was considering for it but didn't quite make it. Sometimes the best pops aren't the most elaborate pops or the most colorful pops. Sometimes the best pops are the ones that are very simple and just done perfectly, like this Halloween Minnie Mouse and Halloween Mickey Mouse. Yes, I'm putting both of them as number 10. I think the best one is the Minnie Mouse. It's just absolutely perfect to me. I love the black and white treatment with the orange spot color. I love the way they did her eyes. It's just perfect, and there's nothing I would change about it. Same with Mickey. Just a fabulous set of pops, which made me get a couple of characters that I didn't think I needed any more of, but these were just that good. I wasn't a big fan of the first Funko Pop designed by a fan, the Batboy one, but Cutie Corn I think is excellent. I would have never guessed that this was a contest winner. It looks like something a pro designer made for the Spastic Plastic line. I love the idea of a candy corn, trick-or-treating, his little skull costume. He's eating candy, so I don't know if that makes him a cannibal or not. A little creepy, a little cute, very impressive in its simplicity. Really like that little bit of orange in the eyes. It's a very nice touch. Just an excellent pop all around, and congratulations to Jacob Martindale. Good job designing this. I've never played Death Standing, but the very first time I saw this Higgs Monahan pop, I immediately put it on my short list of best pops of the year. Absolutely amazing details and execution of a character that really shouldn't work as a pop. Extremely challenging for the designer, but it looks really good. It even has round pop eyes, which sometimes pops that have this much detail don't have. The only thing they keep from the pop style is the oversized head, but the designer managed to keep those round pop eyes. I really like the look of the base with the skulls coming out of what it looks like black tar. I'm not sure. I haven't played the game. Like I said earlier, this one even has a really tiny little like Neo Matrix baby on his chest with a clear piece on top of it. Super, super tiny little pop there. Metallic paint mixed in with the flat paints. Just a bunch of nice little intricate details throughout. The only thing I would complain about is that box. Just a generic blue PlayStation box. It looks like when you go to the grocery store and you buy like the Great Value store brand of stuff. That's what this box looks like to me. It looks like this video game probably had a lot of nice artwork they could have used for the box. Who knows if that's a licensing thing or not, but this is an excellent pop. Might fly under the radar for a lot of people, but overall this pop is excellent. Korra from The Legend of Korra. I love when the common is the best one. I also have never seen this show. I'm basing it purely on design, and I do think this common looks better than the exclusives. So dynamic. I can tell that's supposed to be water and fire. Well, once I went to go look it up, it looked like water and fire, which is what I thought it was, so I thought it did a good job. I'm not sure in the show if it's magic, something else, but it looks really good, and I like the way they sculpted her hair. There's movement, and you can see that there's like some kind of energy making it move like that, and it looks like it's coming up from underneath her. Just a good job sculpting that hair. A very nice example of how the commons are sometimes the best ones. I really like when Funko makes musicians, but they're not as cool as the pops they make from the band's mascots, like this War Pig from Motorhead. Outside of the box, this guy standing with a bunch of other pops totally takes the attention. Your eye goes right to him. Here's the original drawing. I think it was called Snaggletooth back then. I think War Pig is a cooler name. And here's some more artwork from I think this might be from the 80s. But here you can see him drawn with jeans and a bloody axe. And Funko didn't shy away from giving it a bloody axe. That's another thing I hate. I hate when Funko sanitizes things. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I feel that if you can't do it right, if you can't do it the way it's supposed to be, just don't do it at all. But here they did put blood on the axe. The head sculpt is done in the pop style, but it also looks so much like what the mascot is supposed to look like. It's very impressive, and the paint job is good. It is metallic, or semi-metallic. It does look like steel. War Pig number 6, awesome pop. And here we have another common, the Creep from Creepshow. Let's start out with the sculpt on those robes. They look wispy, they look like they're waving in the wind almost supernaturally. The decal on the Creepshow magazine that he's reading is done really well. It's super tiny, but it's on there nice and straight, super clear. It adds a nice pop of color. But the face on this guy, the sculpt is excellent, but the paint job really makes this look like a decaying corpse or a zombie, whatever he's supposed to be. It doesn't just have a wash of darker color over that base of grayish beige. It really looks like they were careful to put that darker color in the deeper parts of the sculpt. Very carefully, actually. You can really tell on the forehead part of it with some of the skin peeling off. Just a really nice paint job, and you even see some of the gums on the top row of teeth and some of the skull on the bottom. The hair looks stringy and also appears to be more than just one color. The robe and hood too. The paint job really sets it apart. I mean, it's got an excellent sculpt, but the paint job on this guy is really good. It's perfectly executed. It's really recognizable out of the box. One of those ones that if you're not even a big fan of Creepshow, I can't imagine it has that many hardcore fans. It's just Creepshow. But this pop is so good, it's worth adding to the collection just because of how well it was made. And here's another character that seems like it would have been very difficult to make into a pop, judging from some of the original artwork that I was looking at, and it really came out excellent. I mean, it's a really cool, unique design to begin with, but for some reason, it really works as a pop to me. It doesn't seem like it should, but it does. I like the way they made the design fit with the pop eyes. I mean, it looks like she has 5 eyes, but they made those details look like the pop eyes, and I really like that. The hair sculpt is awesome. I don't know what that's about, but the little face in the sleeve is also really cool looking. It draws your eye. Very unique character design, and Funko really pulled this one off. Medusa from the Pop Myths line really shot up in price for a while, and I'm not sure if that was because she was in short supply, or because she was one of the first myths, or because of how excellent her design is, or maybe a combination of all of those. But in person, this pop really stands out. The colors are good, but the arrows stuck in her tail, or the bottom half of her body, I guess, because they did make her look like a snake mermaid, tells a story. I like the little bits of that dark metallic gold jewelry that she's wearing. I like that some of the snakes have mouths and teeth. They could have easily just made them have their mouths closed. It would have been easier to design, easier to paint, cheaper to produce. But some of them have their mouths open and it looks really good. I like how angry they made her face. And I like that she's sticking out her tongue and that it's forked. And going back to the snakes, they all have little pop eyes. So it's like a bunch of little pops on her head. I think these myth ones are hard to design because, yeah, they don't have the restrictions that they have like when they're designing a licensed product, but it could still easily go bad. Like the Sphinx one is done in a similar style to this one, but for some reason in the Sphinx, it looks bad, but in Medusa, it looks good. So good that it's one of the best of the year. Vampire Krusty is another example of a common pop that's just perfectly executed. There's no mistaking that this is Krusty the Clown as a vampire. It's from an animated show, and a lot of times animated shows are hard to turn into pops because your eye is so used to how it looks in 2D with the exact proportions that it has in the cartoon. So animated pops are really hard to do, and they did a great job with this one. There's not one flaw on it. They even gave him big floppy shoes, where sometimes on Funko Pops, the feet tend to be small, whether the character has big feet or not. All of the new Simpson Pops look great, but I think Vampire Krusty is the standout. And now for the best pop of 2020, in my opinion, is the Morton Salt Girl. She's simple. She's only 4 or 5 colors if you want to include black as a color. Instantly recognizable. Perfect idea for an ad icon. The Morton Salt Girl has been around forever. Every American has had Morton Salt in their house at one point or another. But it's also one of those logos that you don't get beat over the head with in advertising everywhere. You know, it's not like Coca-Cola or McDonald's where it's more annoying corporate branding. Whereas a Morton Salt Girl, to me, comes off more as like endearing Americana than like a corporate logo, even though it is one. She's totally cute. The salt pouring out is grainy. The colors are perfect. They got the blue on the box just right. It looks like a Morton Salt container. This is one that wouldn't look out of place to me out of the box in somebody's kitchen. And I also think it's a great gag gift for your favorite salty bitch in your life who might actually end up liking this unironically. And now on to the best series of the year. When considering the best series, I'm looking at everything as a whole. How well do these pops look all together? Are there any weak spots in the series? And if there are the other pops so good that the weak spots only seem weak compared to the other pops in that series and might be some of the best pops in another series? I don't take into consideration the popularity, just design, how eye-catching they are, how accurate they are, and how well these things work as pops. And the first series that I found really impressive was Inuyasha. If I had a category for the best hair sculpts in the year, it would definitely be this series. I forget the name, but look at that 6-inch dog thing. Look at the sculpt on the hair. Look at the movement it conveys. They're all excellent. And from something I'm not familiar with at all, even after looking it up, I'm not 100% sure I know what Critical Role is. I don't know if it's a podcast. I don't know if it's just a team of Dungeons and Dragons players. I don't know if it's a comic book. I don't know what it is. But I do know that these pops came out really good, especially for a property that I'm not sure how many they expect to sell. I can't imagine this is going to be one of the best-selling series of the year. But they sure treated it like it was a mainstream property. Every single one of these pops have amazing little details. They're all worthy of picking up and taking a close look at. Very, very unique and colorful. And speaking of colorful, one of the best and most eye-catching series is definitely the set of 8 Batman movie villains from the Burton and Schumacher movies. There isn't one weak spot here. You can make a case for any one of these pops being the best in this series. If somebody came and told me that Mr. Freeze is the best, I couldn't really disagree with them. Or if they said Two-Face is the best, or the Joker is the best, or Catwoman. Catwoman is one of the pops I've been wanting for years. And they didn't disappoint. I mean, the only thing I would have liked better is if they would have made a Chase with some of her blonde hair sticking out. And maybe a different pose in the body. That would have been amazing. They might still do that as an exclusive. I would buy it. I was very close to making this the best series, but the number one series of the year for me was The Simpsons. The Treehouse of Horror pops are similar to those Batman villains where I can't pick which one's the best. Probably Krusty. I mean, I put it in my top 10. But that zombie Bart, that witch Marge, Donut Homer, Bart in the spacesuit with that big dome in the front and Maggie on his chest, they're all just as good. And the non-Treehouse of Horror ones like Millhouse and the comic book guy, Sideshow Bob, are excellent additions to your Simpsons collection. And they've really improved the design of graining style into Funko Pops. The original Simpsons line wasn't the best. These definitely look better, but not so different that the original line couldn't fit in with these. Pretty impressive work. I just love all of these, and after seeing some of the pops that are going to come out in 2021 for The Simpsons, I feel like it's going to be a contender in 2021 as well. Funko is really knocking it out of the park with The Simpsons. Alright guys, that was the best of 2020 in my opinion. Whether you agree or disagree, now it's time to let me know what you feel in the comments below. What do you feel should have been on this list? What do you feel shouldn't have been on this list? What is your top 10? What are your picks in every category? Very curious to know what you think. Thanks for watching and take it easy.
Represent, brother.
Dash